Hello boys and girls, and this week we're going to learn about energy, and we're going to learn about one type of energy, and that is light. Light is a form of energy. In this unit we will explore where it comes from, how it works with different materials, and what colour it is. And we have lots of keywords here for this. And I wonder if you can see if there's any keywords that are opposites or antonyms, opposite words. So we have light source, natural, artificial, ray, opaque, so that word is opaque, translucent, transparent, shadow, absorb, reflect, spectrum, and prism. So we're just going to read through the chapter today. Where does light come from? Anything that gives out its own light is called a light source. There are natural light sources, such as the sun and fire, and humans have also invented artificial light sources, and these include torches and lamps. And some animals, of course, such as fireflies, are natural sources of light. So I wonder how many types of light sources can you name? We have natural ones and we have artificial ones, and you could even, of course, create a list if you had some time of those types of light sources. So light and materials. Light travels from its source in straight lines, called rays. It will continue to travel in a straight line until it hits an object. What happens then depends on the type of material the object was made from. So think about it. Why did humans invent artificial light sources at all? So why did we need light in the first place? I hope that would be somewhat obvious. So opaque materials do not allow any light to pass through. And examples of that would be wood, metal, stone, thick fabrics, and thick coloured plastics. So here you have your box of laundry detergent that will be made from cardboard mostly, and light is not going to pass through that because of course it's got the cleaning fluid probably inside it as well. So this one is translucent, and translucent materials allow some light to pass through. So examples are thin paper, gauze, and frosted glass. And I always think about the lights in your room are generally translucent, because if they weren't translucent then they would just startle you, wouldn't they? The bulb would startle you. So they are translucent to kind of soften and disperse the light, or diffuse the light, I think is the word I should be using. Transparent materials then allow most light to pass through, and examples of that are air, water, clear glass, and some plastic, for example cling film. So they're completely transparent, they're see-through is the other word for that. So the next section talks about shadows. So of course when we shine a light source onto an object, the result then is a shadow. And I wonder, can you give me any examples in nature where this might happen, where there might be a light source? So think about maybe the sun, and then think about the earth, and what happens then when the light from the sun hits the earth and creates the shadow. So what happens to the earth's shadow, I wonder? Can anyone tell me? How are shadows formed? When light hits an opaque object, it cannot pass through. So the object will cast a shadow, or a dark area at the side furthest from the light source. So because the light can't pass through it, it creates a shadow. So investigate. And again, we'll be doing this later in the week. I'm going to get you to make some videos telling me about how this all works. So use a torch to make shadows. What happens to the shadow when you move the torch closer to the object? So moving it this way. What happens to the shadow if you use a brighter light source? So increase your light source, and what happens? Translucent materials also cast shadows. This is because they do not allow all of the light to pass through. So here you have opaque shadows as well. And I think that's some sort of maybe Oriental theatre or something like that, it looks like. Shadows are used to create puppet shows. Opaque puppets are held between a light source and a translucent screen. So that might be some inspiration for some stop motion videos even for you. So think about it. Do opaque or translucent objects cast darker shadows? So which one would cast a darker shadow? the solid star or the opaque puppets? What do you think? And even have a look at the pictures then, and you might see clues from that as well. And certainly here down at the end of the translucent puppets, I noticed that it's a bit fuzzy there, isn't it? So I wonder why that is. And like that, I'll be getting you to make videos later in the week describing that, so you don't have to do those now. We'll do those later in the week. Today we're just going to read through the chapter, as I say, so you can read along with me. So where does light go? Opaque and translucent materials do not allow all light to pass through. So where does it go? Well, materials can both absorb, take in light, and reflect, bounce off light. Smooth, shiny surfaces reflect the most light. So mirrors reflect almost all of the light that hits them. And like that, in the next page we're going to be talking more about colour, and some colours are better at absorbing light, and some other colours are better at reflecting it. So I wonder, could you tell me, even before I turn the page, what colours absorb light and what colours reflect light? And like that, silver is not a colour, so we can't say it's that. But think about that maybe if you're skiing, for example, or if you're wearing a black jumper outside on a hot day, what might happen? So in this diagram here, it's explaining that the ball and mirror are both opaque. They do not allow light to pass through. The ball absorbs most of the light, but the mirror reflects most of the light. So here we're going to talk about colour. So what colour is light? It's hard to believe, but light is made up of every colour. The main colours are red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo and violet. These are called the spectrum. So you might know them best as the colours of the rainbow. Rainbows are created when sunlight is reflected off water droplets in the air. Each colour is reflected at a different angle. They spread out, forming a spectrum. So we see the rainbow, of course, and this is a rainbow in Killarney. So why can we see the rainbow in the sky and on the water? So yeah, you can see the rainbow here, but you can also see it in the water. I wonder why that is. Is it because of a mist, or is it because of a reflection, I wonder? So think about it. Ring out your great bell in victory is what's called a mnemonic, a memory aid that helps us remember the names of the colours of the rainbow. Each word starts with the same letters as the colour names. So try coming up with your own. And again, that's something we can do later in the week as well. Ring out your great bell in victory. So red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo and violet. You can create a spectrum using a prism. And a prism is a piece of glass or another transparent object with flat sides. When light goes into the prism, it slows down and the colours in the light get bent at slightly different angles. And this causes the light to break into its colours and form the spectrum. Light is a form of energy. It can come from both natural and artificial sources. Opaque materials do not allow light to pass through. Translucent materials allow some light to pass through, and transparent materials allow most light to pass through. Opaque and translucent materials can cast shadows because they block light. Opaque and translucent materials also absorb and reflect light, and light is made up of every colour of the rainbow. So like that, I hope you enjoy reading that chapter, and we'll look forward to some nice activities on that during the week.